Good morning, and good to be back with everyone here on another Tuesday morning. Matt, good morning.
Morning, Bill.
A lot of fun to be back and talk about continuing our little journey down the path of intentionality. We started with how we focus and live a life filled with more intentionality. Last week, we were able to go through goal setting, and thank you all for the feedback you provided to us from that show. Today, we're going to focus on managing our own energy. So if you saw the title of today's show posted as Energy Management and you were expecting some tips on heating bills, wrong show. We're going to be talking about how we manage our own internal energy, how we fill ourselves up so that we can then give good energy to others and allow that to impact our attitude and our behaviors. So,
Sounds good to me. And energy management, that might be your fancy term. For everybody else too, just really that time management, that planning, as we continue that path and distill it down, how do we actually get the end results that we want and that we talked about at the beginning? So take us out, Bill.
Yeah, so, it's funny. We talk so much about time management. I think time management's been that, that term that we're all familiar with, and it's over the years, it's had this increased focus, and there's so many systems that are out there. And we actually have a session we do on time management that we're not eliminating and we're not getting rid of. It's critically important, but time management only takes us so far. The real value, the real capital, if you will, that we have to make us better is the energy management, right? Because we can be really good at managing our time, but be Debbie Downers and have no energy and be drained, right? We're not going to be our best. Where when we can fill ourselves with energy, know those activities that fill us with energy, and I think equally as important, know those activities or those people that drain our energy, it helps us become infinitely more productive. So energy management truly feeds into time management.
Yeah, I was about to say, it sounds like they're highly connected based off of not only time management, but what you do after you schedule that time, what parts of the day, who you do it with, understanding how you gain energy, but then also what drains energy.
Totally.
It sounds like to me.
Yeah, and I think part of this starts with knowing whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. Right. So for me, off the chart extrovert, and all that means introvert. Did I say introvert twice?
Yeah.
Okay. Introvert or extrovert, all that really means is where do we draw our energy from? So as an extrovert, I draw my energy from others. Matt's more of a ambivert, where he can be an introvert or an extrovert. I think you probably lean towards introvert a little more, though, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So when Matt's alone and, when COVID hit and Matt was working out of the house by himself and doing his thing, he was living his best life. I mean, like, we would get on Teams calls together and my man was beaming, right?
In my PJs.
Right. He was beaming. And meanwhile, I was in here in the office all by myself and I'm bouncing off
unshaved.
walls. Yeah. Depressed.
The shirt untucked.
Yeah. Looked like Eeyore, just because I need others to give me energy. And so it starts with knowing where your energy source comes from. And if you're like me, if you're an extrovert, and by the way, most people in sales, not that extroverts make better salespeople, but most people in sales tend to be extroverts. If you're an extrovert and you're surrounding yourself with people, what do they become? The people you're surrounding yourself with become your energy source. So you're drawing from them whatever their energy is. And as I always tell my children, and you've heard me say before, if you've watched our show, show me your friends, I'll show you your future, right? We become the people we spend time with. We become the people that we spend, that we associate with, and we draw from them their likenesses and their energy.
So what about, obviously in an office environment, we're an employee, we don't get to pick who we're going to be with or what cubicle next to. So what do we do there? Is it tuning people out or?
Well, I think it's boundaries.
Yeah.
Right. So if we're in an office environment and there's that one person that always wants to be hovering around our cube or hovering around our office and they don't bring us a strong energy because All they want to talk about is how bad the boss is, or how bad the comp plan is, or how bad life is, or how bad the world is. We need to have boundaries. And those boundaries are either the words we say that say, hey, you know, I hear you. I have to jump on a call, or I hear you. I really need to get into the day here. I got a lot ahead of me. And the good news about this is we get to choose whether we want to be happy or focus on that. Right? Get good with boundaries and telling somebody, yeah, that isn't fun, but I'll tell you, I tend to focus more on the things I can control versus the things I can't control. But having those boundaries with somebody where, you know, you kind of put up that wall. I'm not saying you be mean, not saying we have to tell them you're a moron, get out of my office. But, you know, you set up these walls of I'm just not going to engage in that. And over time, those people that are looking to pull you down and looking to have you talk about those things, they'll get the hint and they'll stop coming around. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because they have a high level of emotional intelligence and they go, oh, Matt doesn't want to hear that?
I don't think they're getting the energy back that they want.
Exactly. Those are individuals that are looking to draw negative energy back. And when we don't give them that negative energy and we give them that dose of positive energy, it repels them. And that's one way to do it. I think the other way is, you know, to seek out great mentors. Seek out the people in your life, seek out the people in your office that give you that energy. And when I use the term mentor, it doesn't just mean someone who's a lot older, because, you know, guys like me, we get to a point where there's not that many people older around, right? So there's not, I'm going to be 50 next month. So I'm now, it's weird to say, I'm now in that back end. You know, I'm one of the old guys in the office or in the workforce. So, you know, for us, it's not always about going to someone who's older and wiser. That would be great. But find somebody from an energy standpoint who might be younger, but has a positive energy, has that wisdom that you can draw from that helps you be more positive about the day. Surround yourself with the people you want to be like.
Yep. One more thing on the boundaries, the art of the door shut. And not being the person or, you know, the boss or leader that's always in their office with the door shut, because, you know, many of us talk about open door policies and it's good for teamwork, morale to have it open. But, you know, when you need to get something done, don't be afraid to shut the door and the power of that, of setting boundaries. Again, not always, but when they knock on it, hey, I'm in my prospecting half hour. Can this wait, you know, 20 more minutes or whatever that may be? You start to set those boundaries. So shutting the door isn't bad. Again, not always, not letting anybody in ever. And but there's been a few managers that we worked with that just shutting their door, you know, a couple times a day, half hour at a time, making it known. Open door policy outside of that has been really powerful, simple but powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, it reminds me of a couple things. One is a gentleman who I admire tremendously, and he used to be the president and COO of Federal Home Loan Bank, and a great guy. He's been a mentor for me. His name's Bill Botts. And Bill knew that every day, in the middle of the day, he needed to recharge his energy source by closing his eyes, focusing, recentering, not napping. Not that that's a bad thing, because napping's a very good thing if you are able to take 15, 20 minutes in the middle of the day and power nap. God bless you. I'm not one of those guys. But if you can, go for it. But what Bill would do would take 15 to 20 minutes and close his door, close his eyes. And for him, it was around prayer or meditation. And in his prayer time in the middle of the day, he refocused. And it was just literally a matter of closing his eyes, recollecting, taking account for all that's happened in the day, thinking about the things he had to do. And that gave him great energy. I'm also reminded of my daughter's dorm room, right? And how that relates to one of our early clients. But when you walk down, my daughter just started at Duquesne University here in Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago. And when you walk down, she's in St. Anne's, what do you call it, residence hall. So when you walk down the hallway, the trend is that all these girls have little whiteboards on their door, right? Or the RA has like a magnetic whiteboard next to her door that says, where is, and I forget the RA's name, but like, where is Sally? And it has these 5 or 6 options for where she could be, and she moves a magnet where she is. One of our old clients actually had one of those whiteboards outside of his office, and it said, Paul, his name was Paul, and it said, Paul's got a minute, and then it listed times throughout the day. Because what he found is throughout the day, people would pop their head in his door and say, hey, Paul, you got a minute? and a minute turned into 30.
Yep.
Right? Because people would just come in, they had FaceTime with the boss. They're in, this is a time to pitch their big idea. This is a time to show them how smart they are. This is a time for them to tell him about the great client interaction they had, right? So got a minute turned into 30, and he found this whole day was going away because of this. So we took this whiteboard, we put it in front of his door, said Paul's got a minute, listed some times. And if you had an issue you needed to bring to Paul, you came, wrote your name in there, and when that time popped up, come in. So it was a way for him to be able to get that work done, not have the energy suck throughout the day, and yet still have people have access like they needed it. The other thing it did is it limited the window. So if you signed up from like 9 to 9:10, you had 10 minutes to run through that.
I think I should start doing that with you. Set an appointment with Matt.
It's not nice.
I might even get an admin to sit outside my door. Only teasing. I love our office. But can we talk just for a moment, because this has been a big trend recently, and I know energy management and time management is often talked about, but checklists, right, and to-do lists. There have been so many people, for whatever reason, over the past 2 weeks, and this has been ongoing, but it's been especially apparent. My to-do list keeps getting bigger. My task list keeps getting bigger. I feel like I write it down in a book, which is a great step, or that's my methodology. And one thing I wanted to just say there, or question and ask, is every task equally as important?
No, they're not.
But when you have a system of just a checkbox or a list, you're making it very flat horizontally.
That's right.
And so for those of you that do have just a task list, make sure that you timestamp it. When is it due? Give yourself permission to kick it out, today being Tuesday, to Thursday if it's not due.
That's right.
to Thursday, or even next week. When we just make it very flat to-do list, we create this own urgency and this own anxiety probably when we do that. So I know that's a little bit of a tangent, but it's been so real the last couple weeks for me with coaching.
Yeah, well, it's funny because, when I first started time management, following our time management principles, this is probably, 5-6 years ago.
Yep.
And I got into the habit of Sunday night planning. So Sunday night, sit down, plan the week. What are our weekly the goals we have for each of our roles? And then you start thinking about the things you need to do. Well, after a while, I found that I'd have like 16 things written into Monday.
Yeah.
Right? So I'd come in Monday and I'd have 16 to-dos written on my day. And it's like overwhelming because the freedom that comes from writing something down quickly became anxiety from looking at a list that I knew I couldn't complete. So it defeats the purpose, right? Well, what I then started doing, and I do now, is I started thinking about, is that really a Monday deal?
Yeah.
Right? Or is that something that I just need to get done during the week? So I'm going to put that out on Wednesday. So every week when I sit down on Sunday and I'm writing out my week, the things I need to do, I go into Wednesday on a lot of things. I can't just write everything into Monday, because if I do that, like Matt says, it all becomes equal, and then it becomes counterproductive, because what happens is you start to feel stressed by opening your planner and looking at Monday. So I had weeks where I would go without opening my planner. So I did all this planning on Sunday night. I'd write down all these things I want to get done, but I knew I wasn't going to get them done. So I was like, I'm just not going to open that. Now I'm back into the better habit, the good habit of having my planner open, having it out, and being able to have these things in a meaningful order, right? But when you plan those things, I think it's important to plan the activities as well, because I think that it's one thing to know the people. And I don't know, for me, knowing the people in my life that give me the energy and the people in my life that take the energy, that might be more important for me than the activities. Because it's such an energy source. So something to be mindful of, right? What does that mean? That means there's certain people that I know I want to schedule time in the week with. And even if it's just a quick morning phone call. I have a not a very long list, it's a relatively short list of commute phone calls of the people that I'm going to call during my commute. And if you're on that list and I'm going to call you in the morning, between 7 o'clock, Matt's so busy he's taking emails right now. So whether that's between 7 or 8 or whatever it might be, I have those morning commute people that I know I can go to. They're going to start me the right way. There's also those people that pop into my mind in my call in or my ride in that are not morning commute people. They are middle of the day people where we could timestamp or, boundary them.
Yep.
Because you know what the result's going to be. There's also people that, many of those morning commute people, they're also on my list of evening commute because I know that they're going to fill me with energy before I get home and I re-immerse myself into the family. So do you have those people in your life? How are you scheduling them? Number one. And then the activities and the tasks. Know the things that zap your energy. And I'm not telling you get to not do those things, right? Because a lot of those things are mission critical. They need done. So you're going to have to do them. But know what they are that zap your energy, and then know where do you want to put them in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Do they want to be the first thing you do when you get in, when you have the most energy? Because, even though they're zapping energy, you're still in a good place at 9 o'clock. Great. Are they the things you need to do after lunch because your energy is a little low, so they're not going to zap as much from you, and they might let you kind of mellow into after lunch? Great, whatever it is, but it's important for you to know that for yourself. Know the things that take your energy and know when you should be doing those things.
Yeah. Well, I think a good activity maybe, it just popped in my mind, track this week, monitor this week when you have the most energy and when you have the least amount of energy throughout the day. So let's get a baseline. And, we could probably guess and even assume what tasks take our energy already. But just keep a little scratch paper.
If you had to guess, what's your high energy hours?
My high energy when I first come in.
Which is? 7.
7.
Yeah.
7-ish.
So your high energy time block is 7 till 9?
9-ish, depending on what day and one-to-ones. For sure. I get more done in those 2 hours than I probably get done from 2 to 5.
Yeah, same here. So my high energy block's like 7:30 to 10.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. What's your low energy block, do you know?
Mine is near the end of the day.
Yeah, by 3:30 you're done.
Yeah, just because I can easily, if I go home, I can recharge and I work at night, after Lucy and Paige go to bed, I can be really, really productive for an hour then versus any clients they have from 2:30 to 3:30 or 4, I'm giving you full energy.
Yeah, right. No, but Matt's low energy comes around 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why he usually leaves the office around 4 and goes home and is where his feet are.
Yep.
Is with his family, is with Lucy, is with Paige. He's immersed. And then after everything's settled down, because Lucy goes to bed pretty early, 7:30.
Yep.
Right? So I know then Matt's focus time, not necessarily energy time, but focus time is 8 till 9:30, right? And it's senseless for Matt to stay in the office till 6 or 6:30 when he could be focused for an hour and get as much done as he would in 2 or 3 hours at the end of the day.
Yep.
Right? So for me, my high energy time, 7:30 to 10, that's where I like to, that's where I definitely feel like I'm most in control, where I'm bringing it, where I'm giving people my best. After lunch, I have a little window where I tend to drag. It's usually around 2 o'clock. And then I come back at the end of the day where I can be pretty productive between 4 and 6.
Yeah, you
or
are.
4:30 and 6.
Much more
right?
than I am.
Yeah, so I'm usually in the office till 6:30. But then lately at night, I haven't been doing as much. So it's knowing you. We can't tell you, here's the schedule you should follow. It's about connecting with your energy source, the people, the activities, and the time blocks that you need to be effective. And then make sure that we're scheduling that. Because once we know our energy, that should lead into our time management, right? Where we're effectively we're effectively planning and producing. So
yeah, well, and I think it's owning what works for you, because there are things during my day that are really, really important that I know I will get done at 9 o'clock, just because I'll have that time and I'll be able to focus.
And
at
you
that
push
9
it to back, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I'm fine, and the clients know that they might get an email from me after hours, and I know they'll respond the next day, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But that's what works, and
that allows you to be where your feet are between 4:30 and
which
7.
Is really, really important. And speaking of being where your feet are, your mind being on the task that you're doing. I got to pull out some multitasking stuff because that was that's been the second theme recently. I've had about 3 people say like, "Oh, I'm a great multitasker."
Mm-hmm.
I'll just shake my head and
Yeah.
fantastic. That's great. But so multitasking leads to as much of a 40% drop in productivity.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're multitasking, so it's been found that multitasking doesn't exist in the brain. You're switching back and forth,
Right.
back and forth, back and forth. The estimated cost of interruptions has cost $650 billion a year to the American economy.
Wow.
Multitasking. So if you're an owner, how much is multitasking taken from you? And then
And then think about that, and now put that in perspective, right? You know, you
Mm-hmm.
hear about the stimulus plan and all this trillions of spending. That's 1/5 of that.
Yep.
Right. So just for perspective, for people that say, "Oh, there's no way that's sustainable. We can't do that." Which, by the way, I'm on that path. You know, full disclosure. But our multitasking equates to $650 billion.
Yep.
Dollars.
And then finally, one more thing, because I think it just ties into that time management and focusing. They did a study of Microsoft employees, and after they responded to an email, instant message, text message, and had to get back to let me see how this is, intense mental task, like writing a report, coding,
Mm-hmm.
something like that, it took them 15 minutes after that disruption
Wow.
to get right back. So think about how many times you multitask a day. And if it's taking
All
you
day.
15 minutes to refocus on that proposal or, refocus on a meeting, that's a lot of time. So sorry for that tangent, but
Wow.
the task list and the multitasking has been something that has come up a ton the past 3 weeks for me.
I'm surprised you didn't link that first stat you gave, which was 40% reduction in performance for multitasking. That same study showed that the brain functionality was the same as somebody who just smoked marijuana. So if you're multitasking throughout the day, multitasking at work, it's the equivalent of smoking a little marijuana before you start.
I wouldn't know what that's like. So
So, yeah,
that's why
right.
I didn't quote that.
We're not a 420 zone around here, I guess the kids would say. But so hey, be focused here in the week ahead on your energy, the people that give it to you, the tasks that bring it to you, how you function, when you function your best. This is all about self-awareness. You know, we talk about living with intentionality. All the things we're talking about here are also closely related to our emotional intelligence. When we start to become more in tune with ourselves, more in tune with our energy management, more in tune with the tasks that we excel at and the ones that zap the energy from us and bring us down, what we're really doing is driving up our emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is multi-component. One is how aware I am of my own behavior, which is what we're talking about today. The other is how aware am I of its impact on others, which we'll be talking about more in the future. But the higher we drive our energy, the more aware we are of the things we're doing, the better we show up every day, the better we present ourselves to customers, to clients, the better we present ourselves and represent our organization, the more successful we're going to be. So let's be mindful of that. Let's be intentional about our energy. And then next thing you know, we're intentional about our lives. So we'll see you all next week. In closing, we just want to say thank you to the 13 men and women who gave their lives this week in service of our country, 13 brave Marines who are no longer with us, and to all of their comrades who are injured and in the hospital from that same attack. You're not forgotten. We're grateful. We're praying for you and your families, and on behalf of a grateful nation, may God bless you and bring you into paradise with him. So thank you all for being with us. Please pray for those families and those who are injured. And please pray for our nation as we work through these difficult days and all those who are in harm's way or have suffered the effects of Hurricane Ida. There's plenty of things to be grateful for those of us who were spared. And there's plenty of things for us all to be praying for as we live a life thinking about others. So thank you for being with us this week. We'll see you next week. Take care. God bless.